Welcome and peace be with you. In this session, I'm going to talk about the history of Tibb. And if you talk about history, obviously the history of medicine is as old as the history of man. Over the centuries, the system of medicine, which began with the recorded history of the Egyptian era, was known by many different names: Greek medicine, Greco-Arab medicine, Western herbal medicine, and commonly Unani medicine, which is still extensively practiced in the Indian subcontinent. If you look at the historical progress of Tibb over the centuries on the slide, we see firstly that before the Common Era, it started within the Egyptian era, as I mentioned earlier, and the person that is well recognized for this is Unani-Tibb, born in the year 2980 to 2600 before the Common Era. Those people who remember the movie The Mummy remembers Unani-Tibb. He was a healer, but also a sorcerer and involved in magic. Okay. Then the next stage, again also before the Common Era, and this was the greatest contribution from the father of medicine, Hippocrates, born in the year 460 to 370 before Common Era, and being the founder of medicine, he established or he hypothesized the humoral theory. Then, subsequent to this, in the Common Era, which approximately 129 to 200, Galen added to the humoral theory the concept of temperament, and this was known as the Greco-Roman era. Then came that contribution of between 530 and 1250, okay, almost 500-600 years. That was the golden era, the golden age of the Arab era, and from all the many contributors in this era that took the philosophical principles of Hippocrates and Galen, the temperamental and humoral theory, and codified this theoretical principles into a practice of medicine, which was wonderfully encapsulated in the canon of medicine. And this canon of medicine was compiled by Ibn Sina, born in the year 1980. And it's very interesting to note that Ibn Sina's canon of medicine constituted half of the course of medicine, even in the University of Montpellier in France, up to the 18th century. So this canon of medicine lasted for almost 700 years as the textbook of medicine, produced in 5 volumes. Then let's move on to the progress of centuries between the year 1300 and 1800. This started in a way with the Renaissance, right? Where initially the history of Tibb began with the Egyptian Greek era, and then the Arab era came in, and then as part of the Renaissance period from 1300 to 1800, obviously the system, with obviously the training of Ibn Sina and the canon of medicine, Tibb became the practice of medicine all over the world, and more particularly in Europe. And the famous English physician Nicholas Culpeper, born in the year 1616, if you read his books, there was a book called Western Holistic Medicine, written by Brian Tobin, and he talks about Culpeper's medicine. And the very same principles from Hippocrates, Galen, and the whole Muslim contribution from the canon of medicine is exactly the same as in Culpeper's medicine. Going back to the chart, in the year from 1200 onwards to the present time, with the Arab influence that went to the Indian subcontinent, that's where Tibb then established its feet, established its presence in the Indian subcontinent, which at that time was predominantly, the main system was Ayurveda. But during that period from 1200 right up to the present, Tibb is practiced extensively in the Indian subcontinent. Not only practiced, but a well-established system with more than about 200,000 practitioners, with many hospitals, many clinics at all levels. The way clinics are here in South Africa or most parts of the world, linked to hospitals. Similarly, right to this day, the practice of Unani medicine, as is known in India, starts from the clinic level to hospital level to tertiary institutions, and it's really a well-established system. In a way, we should thank the people of the Indian continent for preserving this knowledge that was almost lost. And in fact, this is where, with my experience, when I wanted to learn about the system, the only place I could go to was India. I started with Pakistan, because this is where the system is still practiced. When I realized that this system is the system that will be necessary for us in South Africa, because it integrates, it's based on the principles of Hippocrates and Granges, based on the principles of cause and effect, and its comprehensive understanding of not only pathology, etiology, diagnosis, and treatment, but also understand the causes of illnesses, which unfortunately in today's Western environment, conventional medicine is at a loss. So Tibb in South Africa began with the establishment of the institute, and in 2001, Tibb was officially recognized by the Allied Health Professionals Council of South Africa, where the training of Tibb is still continuing at the University of the Western Cape. So this gives you a broad overview about the history of Tibb. Now, how did this change? What happened to the system of 2,500 years? The system was replaced only in the past 2 centuries. And how did this happen? It happened with the technological advancements and insight into the complex structure and function of the human body, and more particularly with the advent of the microscope and the latest technology, the identification of bacteria and viruses. All of this resulted in the holistic integrated approach of physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects of being the causes of health and disease, being replaced, as we know it today, by the germ theory, where most illness conditions are linked to a specific bacteria or virus. For example, HIV causes AIDS. Bacteria, Mycobacterium tuberculosis causes TB. Okay. And this, together with the germ theory, is also known as the doctrine of specific etiology, where most illnesses are caused from a result of a breakdown between different systems of the body. For example, the breakdown between the nervous and the muscular system leads to Parkinson's. So in addition, the main thrust of change had happened not only with the advent of the germ theory and the doctrine of specific etiology, but without a doubt, the diagnostic imaging technology that has developed in the last 50, 100 years with sonars and CT scans and MRI scans, and the development of synthetic chemical medicine, and without a doubt, very developed, very fine-tuned surgical procedures. All of this has led to the current dominance of the practice of Western conventional medicine. It is in a way interesting that since both Tibb and Western medicine have a common heritage to the founders of medicine, linked to Hippocrates and Galen, this could be a good balance for integrative medicine, where the philosophy of yesterday could be integrated into with the technology of today, and this is the way I see a lot of movement and renewed interest in Tibb, and I've been quite aware of this, especially in the last last 5-10 years, where suddenly Tibb is being revived in different parts of the world. For example, in China, it's known as Uyghur medicine. In Persia, they're trying to establish under Iranian medicine, Anatolian medicine in Turkey. And the latest documentation I received is European traditional medicine, that's in Europe, and obviously also known as prophetic medicine. In conclusion, with its tried and tested philosophical principles, which provide a comprehensive understanding of not only the causes of illnesses and the application of treatment, but also actively promoting health and wellness, Tibb, without a doubt, is perfectly placed to address the global challenges facing healthcare today. Thank you.